There we go. So I've started the recording. This is design 350. It's the lab. As you can see, it's Monday, August 30th, and we'll be going from 11 to 12. Most of the work today will be done outside. We do have videos of what we've got, and we're preparing them to make it a little bit more formal for you. So if you're here in class, on site, you'll get a chance to go out and do it. But I wanted to go over what you're going to do and what it looks like and everything so everybody can have a recording of it. And we will be working on more simulations, particularly of the leveling function. Once we get into taking data and stuff, we actually have those simulations done for you already. So here's what it takes to set up the survey equipment. And so the first thing, as you can imagine, is you have to have all the equipment. So you have to check your equipment list, make sure that you've got everything. And there's nothing worse than traveling for half an hour to or an hour or more and getting to the site and figuring out that you forgot something. The first thing you do once you get to the site is you pick a spot that's going to be useful and you set up the tripod. The tripod is your mount for the theodolite or the transit site or the total station, whatever it is that you're using. We're using something called a theodolite. I don't say it very well, theodolite. So you set up the tripod, then you mount the theodolite, and then you mark the center point. So the center of the theodolite is actually where you do all your measuring from. And so once that's all done, your survey equipment is set up. Now, I'm going to ask you to also make sure that you have your rod and your tape measure. So your rod helps you measure elevation, and the tape measure measures horizontal distance. Of course, there are other ways to get that distance. You could use what's called a stadia or a laser or a chain, but we're just going to use a tape measure. We're getting the idea. We're not doing the most incredible one ever. So those are the four steps: one, two, three, four. And then you'll see that I ask for two more steps. And if you look at the thing, there's also then place your rod and measure to the rod. And so we'll include those, but that's just making sure that you've got everything and it's working. So let's see what it looks like. There's all the stuff. There's the kit. And you'll see that item number one is the tripod. That's what it looks like. That's what ours look like. And then you need a level, and that's number two because the little top of the tripod needs to be kind of level for everything to work right. Then you got the theodolite, which you'll see in more detail. That's what actually takes the measurements. And down here, I have it showing because I actually left it on this side of the bench when I took my picture, is a plumb bob. And that's basically a weight on a string. And you can get very, very detailed with this. We're just going to use it kind of and get kind of close. And then you need a stake and a stake and a mallet to mark where that plumb bob is looking for, is setting. And then you need your rod and a tape measure. And I can see I need to make that one a little bit more. Let's see if I can do it now. Make it bold and white. There we go. Now you can see the tape measure. So you want to make sure you've got all that. There are some other things that you might need. You might need a hatchet and pruning shears if you have to get some plant life out of the way. You might need a clipboard and some stuff to write on if you don't have a phone or something that you can take your data on. You might need a set of cameras, but this is the basics of it right here. One, two, three, four, five, six, 7 items. And remember that number 5 here is actually 2 items. Okay, so you just want to go through in your mind. If you have a checklist, that's even better because then you can actually physically check them off. So once you've got that, what you're going to do is you're going to go set up the tripod. There we go. Welcome aboard, Nicholas. We got you in. There we go. So that's cool. So there's a tripod, and it's just sitting there all folded up. And of course, you want to go put it somewhere stable. Our tripods have little pointy ends on it to go into the ground. And so you're always going to be picking a spot out on the dirt or the grass or something like that. And you just spread it out and you set it up and then you have to actually level it. And that's going to be a big part of the lab today is leveling. And eventually we'll have a simulation for you to be able to practice leveling. Getting all this level is the hardest part of it. Okay, so there we go. That's set up the tripod. And for now, today, this week's lab is just go out there and set it up. There are other parts to it. You have to be able to make sure that you're going to have line of sight to all the places you want to get to and things like that. And I'm getting a little background. Let's see. I just muted you, Nicholas. I was getting, no, I'm still getting a little feed through. I don't know why. Yeah, that's better. Was it one of the, okay, okay. So here we go. So once you've got the tripod set up, you have to put the equipment on it. It's called a theodolite. It's exactly like a transit level, but this little piece, this eyepiece, can be swiveled to check an angle. And so it's a little bit more complex. And I like it because you can use it to, if you really want to get good at it, you can use it to average out 2 readings by flipping it, and it takes out some of the instrument error. But to mount this thing, you actually have to lock it onto the plate. So there's a little screw underneath that screws into the bottom of this. And then there's a little bubble level on a corner, and you have to get the bubble inside the circle. Okay, and that's not too bad to do. And you use these little knobs, these little leveling adjustment screws to get it in there. And that's good. And once it's in the circle, you're close. And then you need to use the spirit level to really get it good. And this one's a much more fine level with better markers, and you have to go around and around and around. So the big trick to mounting the theodolite is to really level it out. Get it level, level, level. And then once you've done that, then you can hang your plumb bob, get it hanging just above the ground, mark that spot, and then hammer a stake in. Okay? So, and that's where you'll take all your measurements from. That's really what this week is about. Now, that sounds all easy and it looks pretty good. And you're going to find that you fumble and you get this mixed up and you're just about got it right, and then you tweak a setting the wrong way and go back and do it again. So this just takes practice. And so this week is based on practice of doing all that. And then, of course, you need to undo all that. And you take off the plumb bob and you pull the stake. And, well, you take the plumb bob off once the stake is in. You pull the stake, you put that away, you go take the theodolite off, you pack up your tripod, and then if you have time, you try it again. If you and we do Mark Thomas Construction is one, Clark Pacific is another, and then a lot of landscapers require you to do some basic surveying, and they'll ask you to do it. So it's great to have the knowledge. That's really good. You can go through this, but it really is best to have some hands-on if you can. So those of you who can make it here, we have 2 people on ground today. If you're on ground today, I can recommend that you come on ground on Wednesday and on ground on Friday to get the practice in if you can. If you're not able to make it, that's okay. I've got some little exercises for you to do to put things in order and identify things, and go find YouTubes of stuff of people leveling and figuring out how to do it. And we do have videos of all of this being done, and they're being made into a pretty good educational video, but that might not be done until Friday. Okay? So any questions on the basics? There's the 4 main steps. There's the parts. There's set up the tripod, mount the theodolite, and mark the center point. Does that all look kind of straightforward? Go ahead and turn yourself on again.
Yeah, I don't have any questions yet, but when I get started, I think I might have some questions.
Oh yeah, when we're out there, I'll be all over it for you.
Yeah.
Totally all over it. So let's see what the actual assignment to do is. If you go to the weekly resources that you see over here, uh, what's that? Oh, I muted myself there. Thank you. Okay. So yes, you'll be able to get your practice outdoors. If you go to your week 2 weekly resources, you'll see there's things to draw. We're going to go over those on Wednesday. So I'll be doing that demo, but there is a demo of it in the playlist, and I'll be doing that for you. Here's the thing that we were just looking at. You don't get to see this one. That one's not turned on for you. I'm doing some setup with that one. But this is your setup guide. And so when you get out there, you can have this available to you if you want, or you can have the other one. But we've got the list of things that you need. And by the way, the hand level, I've got an app on my phone that works just as well. If you have just a phone app, that works out great. And you can just, go to the whatever app store your phone works with and pick one up that's free, and it works just fine. And so you can see, then we also say set the rod up on the ground, just so that you can have practice kind of carrying the rod and then using the tape. And then you redo it. Now here's what I'm going to suggest, that you work in a team where one person in the team is setting up and the other is taking pictures for them for their portfolio. And then you swap. And then if you still have time, you go back and you can each practice on your own. So we'll take one set out now. One of you can be taking images and pictures of the other one, or you can both practice on your own and then take your pictures. Either way, but you are going to want visual evidence, if you can, that you've been through this process. And for those of you who can't be here, that's what this thing is for. I'm setting that up as a little interactive presentation that you can go through that will show that you know the order and that you can do things and identify whether something is level or not. Okay? So there we go. That's our sort of lab directions for today. Any questions about that?
Um, so you want images of each item. Is there of each part? Is there any specific part you want us to image specifically per step, or
Uh, no,
just take some images to
yeah,
let
just
them know
show
that?
me some
Okay.
evidence. So if you look, you can look and see what the trying to find, you know, and this is where it's best if you've had an opportunity to look everything over, but we'll do that tomorrow. But if you look at the template,
Let's
you'll see
see.
right here, step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, just visuals of the process. So that's up to you to provide me evidence that, you know what checking the list looks like.
You got it. Let's
And you know
see.
what setting up the tripod looks like. And
All
it
right,
can be as complex or as simple as you would like. Cool? There we go. Okay. Well, then I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording and we're going to go ahead and go out and do the stuff. And I'll go ahead and close out the meet also. So here we go.